Okay. Let's review your fill in the blanks there, page 123. We went kind of fast on some of them again, so let's see here. You need to know yourself loved with a kind of love not ultimately dependent on ourselves, yeah, but on who does it depend on? But on who does who does the love that God shows to us? Who does that depend on?
Christ.
Yep. And so that was back in the election section where he's talking about that God doesn't love us because of anything good in us, which ultimately gives us greater grounds for confidence and security because we know that when God decides to love us, He will continue to do that. And also the next question there, the doctrine of election assures us of success in what?
Evangelism.
Okay, evangelism. Because we know that God has elect people out there, and if we share the gospel, it doesn't matter if we're particularly smart or smooth in the way we share it. If we share God's word, God will use it to awaken sinners. The next one there was, once he got into the main topic for this one, if sinners are to be elect and saved, God's something must be upheld, and his something must be vindicated.
God's glory must be upheld and his righteousness must be vindicated.
Good job, yeah. In other words,
What's the first one?
Glory.
Glory.
In other words, God can't just, like I said before, skip over sin. It has to be punished. So his glory must be upheld and his righteousness must be vindicated. So, and then, according to what he said there, what's possibly the most important paragraph in the Bible?
Romans 3:23.
And what is the solution to the problem of God's righteousness in saving sinners?
What was the question again?
What's the solution to the problem of God's righteousness in saving sinners?
Open your mouth.
Christ crucified.
Yeah, Christ crucified,
Hmm.
right? The cross is the place where God's justice and his love meet. Okay, now on the next page, page 124 there, our post-DVD questions. Why should the doctrine of election bring security to us as believers?
Well, because it's not dependent upon us. It's really all dependent upon God. I can cease from my work.
Amen.
Yeah. I can enter his rest. That is very, very assuring.
The ones that God predestines, he will carry all the way through to glorification, to becoming conformed to the image of Jesus. So, in question 2 there, he says, discuss the huge problem in the universe as set forth in this lesson. Back in the homework, they had phrased this question a little bit differently, kind of an interesting way. I'm just going to read this. This is question 7 from back on page 118, but this was interesting. Which of the following do you think that most people in the world today consider to be the bigger problem in the universe? A, the biggest problem in the universe is that God allows bad things to happen to human beings. Or B, the biggest problem in the universe is that God is treating human beings far too well. I actually kind of tweaked that language there and put that up on Facebook as a question to try to get people that nobody actually answered the question. That was a bummer. But anyways, that would be an interesting conversation starter, I think.
What was your answer?
What do you think?
Just kidding.
But it really makes you think. In the back on page 124, they ask, how often do you feel the gravity of this problem? It's really, most of the time we do think of ourselves as being deserving of good. So,
Could we back up to 2?
mhm.
Did we really discuss the huge problem
How would you
as a
describe
group?
How would you describe it?
Well, I guess the huge problem for me is how does God deal with sin? That ultimately is the problem. For me, I mean, that's my perspective on it, is how does this righteous God deal with my unrighteousness? That's the problem. Now, I know what the answer is, but it's asking, are we defining the huge problem?
Any other thoughts on that? And how often do we think about that, though, as being a huge problem?
Well, I think about it more now than I did 10 years ago.
Huh, praise God. That's, hopefully we can all say that.
Amen.
Because God's being faithful to the people that He's called, isn't He? The last question there on that page, down in the application section, I thought was fascinating. They say, write out an explanation of the cross from a human-centered perspective. I thought it would be interesting to try to just discuss that. If you were looking at everything from a human-centered perspective and you were gonna explain the gospel wrongly to someone, how would you do that?
It's all about me.
But how would you get the cross in there? How would you treat the
Oh,
cross?
God died for my sins.
Why did He need to do that?
But that's what I'm saying. You're not finishing the other half of that argument. You're not telling the other side of that story. You're just saying, oh, God died for my sins. And that's all I need to know, is that God died for my sins. And there's a lot of theology and doctrine out there that's based on that.
Social gospel.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about me. God did that for me. And part of it's true.
Yeah. So where's the flaw in that?
Well, it's humanistic thinking.
Mhm.
It's not God thinking. It's not theistic. It's humanistic.
I mean, it's talking about God, though.
Yeah, but you're talking about God on what God can do for me and how I can get from God, not from what I can give or how can I glorify God.
What you're forgetting is the in that part of the gospel. You're forgetting the deserving of the punish. You deserve to be punished for your sins.
Right. There's no glory in that equation. God did that for me. Yeah, there's some glory there, but it's only man glorification. It's not God.
What's that?
He did it for everyone.
Right.
Okay. And it kind of boils down to whose work are we focusing on more, doesn't it? Like, there was all these poor humans out there, and there was this bad God that was after them that was kind of a little overly picky or overly conscientious, had all these rules and nobody could really keep anyways, and so because God felt sorry for us, more or less innocent humans that had failed to meet his overly strict standards, He sent Jesus to make up the difference for us, basically, something like that.
Right.
That's kind of
Yeah,
how we would treat the
I
story.
think that's a pretty good analogy, right?
It's too difficult for us.
Yeah.
We were too lazy.
I mean, you can go back further and connect it all together, all the way back, and saying, well, God was lonely, and so God created man so he wouldn't be lonely, and that he could love and he could be loved. And then man walked away, and so God sent His Son to make it possible so that that man might turn to Him, and everything hinges on man's faith. You know, because that's how you would make it all about man rather than about God.
So God kind of
So
chasing
starting
us.
with
God kind of
God's
being almost-
lonely and
Yeah,
needy.
kind of like codependency or something. He would,
Well, then even saying, and you might be lonely,
oh, there you go.
Right.
and you're dealing with a lot of stuff happening in your life, and your parents have gone through a divorce, you're having problems at home, maybe you were sexually abused, and you're physically abused. You know, Jesus He'll be there for you. So believe in Jesus, He'll be there for you. I used to do that all the time.
Me too.
That's how I preach the gospel to a bunch of junior hires.
Yeah.
And you can tweak their emotions that they'll come forward, and you have plenty of
Yeah.
conversions.
Yeah.
So kind of
Yeah.
taking what Randy is talking about and even tweaking that. You're lonely, so Jesus will be there for you. You'll never be alone again. He's always there.
Yes.
That's not the gospel.
And he's standing there wringing his hands and opening his arms. If you'd only come, you know,
You be-
that's all about you.
You be
That's all
strong.
about me. That's man-centered. That's not God.
And I think that's the essence of it, it's all about me. It really ties back into, it's narcissistic in its base. It's all about me, me. You know, God's chasing me, he's looking for me, you know, he wants me, you know, it's just me.
I was just thinking that another way would be something like that, you know, Jesus was this good teacher. He was sent here to teach us or to train us, so to speak, on maybe how, you know, ways of God. And evil took over and crucified him.
Yes.
So, you know,
Okay. God is not being sovereign over all
yeah,
things.
it's still man-centered. We killed him
Mm-hmm.
because, or evil killed him because he was doing too much good, or, you know, we didn't want that teaching.
You could even get into some of the different wrong theories of the atonement, like
Oh, yeah.
that Jesus died on the cross to set an example for us of how we ought to be willing to suffer for doing what's right or things like that, and tweak things that way too.
There's Christians today that are pretty much, they don't like Jews, they're anti-Semitic because they killed Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's hard to understand, isn't it?
They're sinners just like them.
So, maybe Tim, why don't you just kind of restate what we heard this morning, the explanation of the cross from a God-centered perspective. We talked about how to do it from a human-centered perspective, but just say it in your own words from a God-centered perspective. Show the contrast there.
The concept that it pleased God to crush his son is in the Bible, it's biblical, and I think even John Piper has a hard time wrapping his arms around that concept, but that is a true statement, and we need to believe that and accept it, and be thankful, and be joyful, and glorify in that doctrine that it's true, and try not to be God ourselves, but be thankful that it does bring him pleasure to save us, to glorify his name, to make sure that he is vindicating that he does have glory in who he is, that he is the I am, that he's God the creator, that is the glory of God that we have fallen short of in Romans 3:23. So, and to know that he is sovereign and that he orchestrated the whole thing. And that he does continue to orchestrate by predestining, by calling, and then those he called that he justifies, and those he justifies will glorify. We will be glorified in our bodies to bring glory to God the Father. And it would all not be possible if it didn't please God to bruise his son.
What does it, if we should just clarify, what does it mean that we're going to be glorified? Does that mean we're going to become gods?
We'll have glorified body. Our sanctification will be complete upon that moment when Bob Masters died. He goes to heaven. He's with the Father. He's with Jesus. And then when the rapture comes, the dead in Christ will rise first.
Get a new body.
Yeah.
New bodies.
New body. And it will be a body, it won't be spirit.
So it's glorification in the sense of, like in Philippians 3, Paul says that Jesus will conform the body of our humble state into conformity with the body of his glory, which he does by the exertion of the power to subject all things to himself. That Jesus has what we call his glorified body now, which was different than his body he had during most of his life on earth, in the sense that that is immortal and ever gets sick or feels pain or things like that again, but he still has scars. I think we won't have scars on our bodies, but he still has the scars. But there will be a new body, and also, like as you said, will be beyond the reach of sin. Never have to fight with sin again. Wow, it's gonna be amazing. So next week there is no video. It's just a recap session. We'll be talking about some of the key passages from the study that we've looked at. Be thinking about what your favorite part was in this. If there was a particular pleasure of God that stood out to you as being especially meaningful. If there was any unanswered questions you had from the study, and then we'll be able to take some extra time just to pray together for God to cause us to delight in His glories, and that our affections will be for the same things that God is excited and joyous about. So we'll take some time to pray together. But let's pray now for a minute as well. Father, we thank you that your ways are so far beyond our understanding. It's just amazing, the wisdom of God, your power, your creativity. We see displayed all around us in the universe, but we just see it displayed most beautifully in the crucifixion of your dear Son. That while we were still helpless at the right time, Christ died for the ungodly. One will hardly die for a righteous man, though perhaps for a good man someone would dare to die. But you demonstrated your love for us, and that while we were still sinners, your enemies in rebellion against you, Christ died for us. Oh, your amazing wisdom and mercy and patience and glory that we see at the cross. May we be driven to worship you and to proclaim your glory. May these things of supreme importance and worth and value supplant and replace the trivial things that we spend most of our time worrying about and stewing about. But may we focus on the things that are most beautiful and most worthy of praise. May we be changed by your Spirit working in us. Thank you for your mercy to us. Thank you for your word. And thank you for giving us each other. Help us to in our conversations with each other and in living our lives with each other, to provoke each other to love you more and to display your glory to the people around us.